A rescue mission quickly became one of recovery after first responders arrived on scene to a vehicle over an embankment on Spokane's South Hill.
This is Q6 Local News at 5, right now.
Right now, one person is dead after rolling their vehicle several hundred feet down an embankment on Spokane's South Hill this morning. Good evening to you. I'm Dan Kleckner. Emergency crews say the driver was headed north on High Drive shortly after 11 a.m. when they lost control of their vehicle and veered off the roadway at 33rd Avenue. KHQ's Joe McHale was there when it happened, and Joe, there is no guardrail where this car went over.
Yeah, Dan, and you're absolutely right. Now, you can see the scene behind me here, still very, very active. Keep in mind, this crash happened several hours ago, and still High Drive between roughly 29th and 37th Avenue remains closed, as you can see. A lot of crew on scene here behind me. Now, I'm going to step out of the shot and point your attention to that guardrail that you had mentioned. Now, this guardrail is actually, it goes a little further south from where I'm standing. Where the car went off at, there was no guardrail. I want to make that very, very clear. Now, had the guardrail been a little bit longer, it's tough not to think that maybe one more person would be alive today. Now, here's what the scene looked like earlier this morning when I showed up. Spokane Fire Department tells me that the car rolled 300 feet down the hill and got wedged between 5 trees. Now, once they arrived, it was too late. The lone person in the car was deceased. Major Crimes was also on scene to investigate how exactly this happened. And right now, police are still trying to piece together this tragedy.
The investigation will determine if there were some medical issues, if there were impairment issues, mechanical issues. We can't state what was the cause of this collision until they do their thorough investigation.
Unfortunately, this is not the first time that something like this has happened. Take a look at some of these photos of vehicles going over the embankment here on High Drive over the past decade. Now, the city says that they have tried to correct this from continuing to happen. Now, when High Drive was reconstructed, starting in 2014, the city started to make some changes. If you take a look where I'm standing, a car from High Drive would have to jump about a 6-inch curb and then cross this path, this trail that I'm standing on, followed by a little bit of a dirt area before they traveled down an embankment. The city was hoping that that'd be enough for someone to have time to correct going off the road. Unfortunately, in today's incident, it just was not enough. Dan?
Well, Joe, before you go, do we know anything about the person who died?
Dan, no, not at this time. Nothing new we can tell you about who the person was. I can tell you, though, right now, next of kin has not been notified, which is why we've stayed on a wide shot out here, not zooming in on the car. You can see a lot of activity behind me. They have pulled the car out several hundred feet from the embankment. There is a tow truck here on scene. They've gotten the car out, but next of kin, has not been notified. Live in Spokane, Joe McHale, KHQ Local News.